Okay, continuing on with our build of the FYSETC Voron 0.2 R1 Pro version 1.1. So today I need to go ahead and try and start getting some of the bottom skirts and that on. So with that in mind, I'm just going to grab a couple of boxes that I can put under here to keep this from hitting while I turn it upside down. Okay, so now that I have a couple of boxes, let's set that one there and this one here, and let's just move the tool head to where it's not going to be a problem. There we go. Now I'm probably going to need to start doing some of the wire management here as well, because as we get into this it'll be almost a necessity. So when I turn it back over, I think I'll start working on that. This can probably be done here just to start making it a little nicer. And of course I'll double check the colors on this. I believe I've got this right. There's a little chart that people can look up online that show electrical color coding by country and what its equivalents are if you get one that's not color coded to your country. Come on, me and my sausage fingers. This is one of those things where I think a simple little printed part might go very well, just for like a zip tie hole that you can put with a little VHB here or something like that. But this will do nicely. There we go. Alright, let's get that here. I think if I ever go to redo all of this, I'll probably get some cable wrap instead of zip tying, because it's more reusable. And you won't go through as many zip ties. There's also a neat trick, if anybody's ever looked at some of the projects out there for making filament out of pop bottles, that initial step is turning it into a strip, which you can also turn that into cable wrap, which is quite handy. Right, and just to, since that is kind of welded nicely because it's got its own piece there, let's see if I can just manipulate that slightly. There we go. And we'll just loosely, because I don't want to budge it right against it, because realistically this is like begging for EMF from the mains lines. But at the same point, maybe even something that would fit on the end of that extrusion would have been nice. Now, while it probably doesn't pull a heck of a lot, I would still personally want some kind of cooling solution, which I believe there is a fan that is going to be installed here. It helps to a degree, but a dedicated fan that blows over the power supply would not be a bad idea. Those will be probably some of the future upgrades after I get this build done. Now I'll move into that wiring after. So we need some M6 nuts. So these are the M3 6mm. And let's just get those to come out of hiding. There's my little tweezers. Okay, so 8 of them. Let's get 8 screws ready, or bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. There we go. Right. Now, with that in mind, I'm just gonna get out my longer Allen wrenches. There we go. This way easily reaches down here. And just lightly put them in only to start with. There we go. I've been actually, because of this, contemplating doing similar to Frank when I get ready to finally do his upgrades. Move the electronics down below. I think I originally did that because, and left it above in the bottom area because it just made it easier if I needed to access anything in the electronics. Because eventually I had thought about putting a single board computer down there, but instead of, it just would mean if I ever did need to get down in there, maybe to replace a fan that's bearing is gone or something like that, it means I gotta pull a big heavy printer out and obviously set it where I can reach the electronics. So one of those fun things. There we go. Just enough that it's grabbing. Yep, here we go. Okay, so these are the skirts. I've done just an aesthetic mod. These are separately printable. There is a version where somebody's remixed it as one part, so you can do multicolor. But these ones you can just glue onto your skirts and then just trim out a little bit so the bolts obviously can slide in that regard. So with that in mind, I believe this will be this side. So let's slide that. Let's line those up a little better. And there's a little hole right here that you can get your Allen key through it. Looks like I need to come up just a hint to be able to get that to go in. Just a bit more. Come on. go. That's one in place. Not going to tighten it down just yet. There's that one. Now it's high enough. Right, and then budge that up against there. It's that one. And there's that one. Don't have to overly tighten it, as long as it's nice and snug. So now these are like matching, so you have to, when you print them, you can either put a sticker label on them as to which ones for which sides, or potentially just remember that your cutout slots will match, and then this little bump goes on the inside of each of the feet. So you can kind of work it out even if you forget. Looks like I only want about half a turn, 3/4 of a turn to keep it high enough that I can slide it in. Okay, so let's see if that made that easier. That definitely is going in nice and snug, so I'm very pleased about that. Let's just line that one up. Line that one up. Or try to. Oops. Yeah, definitely very snug. Let's try this doing one side at a time then. It looks like even 3/4 of a turn is just a wee bit too much. There we go. That's that one. That's that one. Let's see if that will now slide in where it needs to. See, there's a ridge on the bottom of these as well that helps keep it in the extrusion. So I'm actually wondering if this is ideally the best way. There we go. That actually worked. Now I can see there's a little bit of a gap, so I might just center these a little bit after snugging them a bit. There we go, because I can see like about a 0.5 millimeter, 1 millimeter gap. So that's probably just material shrinkage. See if we can make that to be just about a 0.5 millimeter or less. That's about even now. There we go. More than tight enough for just a skirt. There we go. Nice. You know, and that's reasonably well. And there will be opportunities that you'll see in a moment once we get this all done. So this one will go, oh, now see, there's one I forgot to clip it out. Just bear with me a second. There we go. That's it. There we go. Realistically, if you put the bolts through and then just lower it in once you've lined up the nuts, you can probably get away with doing it without clipping those out. So if you prefer to have a nice unbroken method, then that might be a better solution for you. That's it. Get over there. How far am I off? So close. Oh, there we go. That's it. There we go. That's just tight enough to let it slide a little bit. I'm sorry the frequency of these updates haven't been really to what I wanted. I was going to do some day before yesterday, but as soon as I went to go sit down and do some more of this build and record the progress, it suddenly decided that the world wanted to give us a power cut until nearly midnight, and it was on and off again from what we understand and from what we could see until almost 2 in the morning. Apparently there was a problem with the electric feed going to and or from the local substation, so we weren't the only one that was affected. I am just glad that it's over, but it has reminded me why I wanted one of those lithium packs that has an inverter in it. I'm gonna just do this way. For this one at least. There we go. Right. Probably should have done the other one first. Stupid. Right, so back again. There we go. Do this side first because of this, the way that this is shaped. It seems like it likes that better, so fair play to them. That was better. That was so much better. Now this one is being a bit awkward. definitely tight fit. That's it. Nice and tight at the middle, so very good. Means that the skirt will be nice and tight in there. Come on. Just a little bit over more so it will slide in. That's it. There we go. And I think, yeah, that's nice and tight in there. So I can just tighten these down. That's that one. Here we go. Tighten this one. And finally, tighten that one. Okay. Now, before I do that rear one, I'll get the two front ones here done. These are our little front ones, and you have these inserts, which these, when I printed them, they were just about the right tolerance, so I don't think I'm going to need to glue them, because I could feel a little friction from the layer lines on the inserts. And again, because you'll see that one's higher than side and that, you'll notice where it goes. So let's get those two over there. There we go. Oop, too much. There we go. That's better. And we need 4 more of the M3 6mm for this. Might as well get the ones for the back. So there's 2, one for here, one for here, which is this bad boy. So I'll get those out now. Here, come on. That's it. Put those back up there. Yeah, it helps to have a little keep them in order kind of thing there. So again, same thing on this. Insert your accent part. I might change those out later to ones that I can put an LED on the back, just because it can. That's a nice and tight. Again, I don't think I'll need to put any glue on that. Definitely, probably not. Although I do need to look at the alignment there of that, because it's keeping it from going the rest of the way down. So let me just see what I can do with that. I probably just got that just a little bit off center from where it needs to be. But I can probably just carefully pull that edge up and get it to go under. In fact, that's probably not a bad idea when you're putting these together. Maybe put the insert in first and then glue these down if you don't want to do the remixed ones. This way you can ensure that this will definitely fit. Those those are definitely a lot snugger on that one. Let's see what I can do with that. That's it. That's just about there. Just grab over here and give it a push. And now that will sit on top of there. Just make sure. There, that's snug. And then there's your other accent part. That will go over here. Like that. Now, those are going to be for the display, I believe. So, with that in mind, because that is going to be part of what we're going to do today. Get that all on there. Might as well put a couple in here just to keep them where I need them. Probably could have done this much earlier than I'm doing now, but they don't tell you to do it, so you don't necessarily do it. Unless, of course, you're one of those that kind of half ignore the build instructions because you already know it. That's it. Just try to get it over that nub. Just loosen it just slightly. There we go. And now that can sit properly in there. And that's it. With that being known now, let's go ahead and push that back a little bit. That's it. There we go. I'll just snug that one in as well. There we go. Right. Now, didn't need as many of these where I thought, but there we go. Let's just see if I can get that in there. Now this is going into the heated insert that you did previously. And just turn that in just a little bit. There it is. That's it. That's what we needed. Right. Now, this is also a section I've been contemplating about for a number of reasons. Because there's a printed part that holds a fan. And while I'm getting the idea that VHB is a good idea for some things, I'm not overly convinced that it's a great idea for this. But if you look when you're downloading the files to print your printed parts, if you're doing your own, or if you got the kit with the printed parts, you can always go to the FYSETC GitHub and look at the earlier revision of this model. I think it was the 1.0 instead of the 1.1. And the fan that is going to be shown shortly has a clip-on version that uses a heat insert, or 2 heat inserts, and a couple of bolts. I may change to that at some point. Actually, let's do this in 2 parts, actually. First and foremost, let's go ahead and just put something here. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Get it all in one bundle, and this way it's easier to identify specific wires when you need to. Hey, that's actually not a bad idea that I just had. So for that one, because of where it is and how springy those are, just strap that around the negative lead of your bed power. And that will keep them down and neat and tidy, but at the same time still be able to know what's what. Right. This is the funs of wire management, because you kind of want things to be nice. Also the aspect of airflow through here, because with what they have for a solution, anybody who's done any kind of PC gaming first looked at cooling, because they knew that the machine would get incredibly hot, and it's not something you necessarily want. There we go. Yeah, I think I'll do that like that as well. There we go, with that. And then just keep that over here by doing, let's just give that a little more split. That's our power supply line. Not exactly the ideal place to do it, but the wire they give you for that is rather short. That's it. Okay, there we go. So trim those. I'm not one of those that will stuff wires under here, because all you're doing is putting insulated wire underneath something that has sharp little points. Because if you feel under here, while you're doing the build, you'll feel the bottom of those pins. A little bit of vibration of that, and over time it will cut the insulation, and then you do have a problem. Right. I've been debating as to what to do with the ptfe, because as before, I think I said this in the first few parts of the videos, they tell you go through the entire manual so that you understand what's going on. Not entirely convinced that's going to work entirely, but it will at least prep you to get an idea what's going on. Yeah, that'll do right there. One there, one in the middle. Keep them nice and bundled. And my eyes are rubbish today. And there we go. That's those two. Right. Now, this is going to be here, like that. So that's where we now can start thinking about installing our little connections or keystones. Plus, the board itself doesn't have a Wi-Fi adapter on it. So they have actually included a compatible Wi-Fi adapter, which we're going to go ahead and put in while we're here. There is also an SD card already, but I don't want to put that in just yet. I don't know if it's intended to have that already put in, so I might pause this in a moment. But they do give you a 16 gigabyte SD memory card, if you remember my first part, which was the unboxing. Now, these are those, so I need a couple of the M3, I believe. Which way do I want that? Oh, decisions, because that'll go either way. Yeah, okay. I think I've made up my mind. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So we need 4 more 6mm M3 button head cap screws. Or bolts. You know, they're technically screws, aren't they? Right. So we're going to go that way. Put that down so that I can grab this. And this gives you your Ethernet ports, or Ethernet port, as well as bringing a USB to the rear of this. Oh, it's not the M6. Okay, that's probably going to be the M8. And that's me not looking at the guide. But that's fine, because we've got those right there. I actually forgot how thick these skirts were. But that teaches me for not referring back to the guide and just trying to pull from memory. So, M3 8mm button head cap screws. Need 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Right. So you'll know this will go in here. USB will go there. Wi-Fi I'll put on the top one. I've always thought that this is the best way, and fortunately this kind of forces that issue. So you can't, well, you can, yeah. So you can put it with clip down, clip up. I'm going to recommend clip up, because if you have it down here, if you're trying to reach that, you're struggling because the wire's in the way. Oh, it looks like they're going to force it. Nope, I was wrong. They are going to make it with the clip down. Yep, okay, that answered that. So, looks like you don't get much of a choice on that one. Oh, and even then I'm wrong. Oh, that's embarrassing. So, maybe it is time to... First off, knock this USB Wi-Fi adapter on the ground. And it's time to go back to the guide and check, because that could very well be the M10s then. But I think it's time to look instead of guessing. Plus it'll give me a moment to just get a drink, because trying to comment a little bit instead of using like AI voice generation or whatever. It can make your throat dry out. So, right, in a moment. Okay, some interesting things. I did go back and look at FYSETC's video in this regard, and because this is not in the Voron guide, obviously I wanted to see what FYSETC was saying for these. They're saying they are the 8mm that I originally expected. So these ones, yeah. Problem is, this needs to kind of squish a little bit. So a trick that I learned when building a Prusa is you take a slightly longer one. So in this case I grabbed one of the 10mm, you know, I grabbed one of these, you know, the 10mm M3s, and run it in and then tighten it down, yeah? Make it nice and tight. This will pull that nut that's on the inside inward closer to where it needs to be, and then you can back it out. This also works if you have a deep channel where a nut goes, but it's not quite where you need it to be to reach it and tighten it down. And now that grabs and you can tighten it down. Now you don't have to overdo this because you don't want to break it loose, but now that's nice and tight. So that's a little lesson learned. There we go. Now I'm just curious if this is also keyed a specific way. Nope, it looks like it will fit either way. So if you prefer your cables to go on in a specific way, and it looks like I need to trim the skirt back a little bit here because this clearly needs to go out a little bit more. This is where I trimmed it because I knew these were going to be in here, and it's not really visible from the outside. There we go. So as you can see, I've trimmed out that skirt so that it allows for this to sit flush. And that's better. And let's see if we have the same problem, because if we do, I have to do the same thing. That one seems to feel like it's going to grab, so I don't need to do it with that. So it's only the Ethernet port that either they probably should include a 10mm screw for that, which they may do. You know, if we end up with a couple of M10s later, we'll know. There we go. Nice and tight. Now I have a little thing printing in the background. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. It's just a part that Steve's Builds pointed out that was a very useful thing that was done by Voron, and I'll try and get the link to the part. It's just a little spacer for the display that keeps a nice support underneath the LCD. And I'll get to that in a minute. So, with that in mind, this is going to go in there. And that's a nice tight fit. You know, in fact, almost scaringly tight. Yeah, okay. It's just how it feels. That's it. And then we'll put our Wi-Fi adapter right there. That's kind of good that it does that it locks in place, I suppose. Now, this, because this is going to be like here, we're going to probably have to manipulate that a little bit. And then that will go in there. And I can make that go down nicely in that direction. And then we'll do the wire management in a bit. Right, I think, yeah, I failed to trim this one out, but yay me. Well done. See, this is where I could probably have just put it in from the outside, to be honest, but this is where it's nice when somebody makes the remix. Here we go. Where you can use items, obviously, that have the mesh if you personally desire it. I think that should be enough. Yeah, I think that should just about be enough. That. There. That's it. Right, so let's get this over that way. And try this again. Perfect. And now this side. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And that's nice and snug. So when I was watching Steve's build on this, because this is the exact same kit he was building, I noticed he was commenting that this particular part was a little loose, and you can see there is a gap, in fact, yeah. But if this gap here, so your horizontal expansion, can kick in, then you might be able to do like this, and the natural amount of flex that it has by tightening it down just about takes up that gap. Now this obviously prints flat, yeah, so anything here would definitely need to have expansion in the model. There we go. I'm going to put that nice and tight. This way it just stretches it that little tiny bit. And Steve, that's if you're watching, I don't know if you're going to mess with watching my build, but that is nice and tight. That is not going anywhere, and the amount of space here is okay. This side, there's literally a little gap, so just a little bit in the printing when I did it, it was just slightly off or something, but yeah, there we go. That's nice and solid, and I'm feeling very happy with that. So one more time down here to put another zip tie on these, just to try and keep them away from that motor, because I do suspect that motor will start getting warm, and I really don't like the idea of a wire sitting against a motor if I can help it. Now that one is thermally insulated because that's a bed thermistor, but these ones are not. So a little bit of a twist loop here keeps it nice and tidy. There we go. And just because I'm a little OCD, I'm going to put those to that wire. Just to keep them together in that regard. That's it. go. Right, so that's our underside wiring, yeah. And before I move to anything else down there, let's just get this back up here. And yeah, okay. Personally, I think that should have been the other way around, but that's just me. That's looking tidy. Right, okay, so let's flip it over and finish one of the bits for the front. So here we're going to do our LCD display. They have it conveniently with a little tear spot, but I'm OCD. I'm going to go for the heat seal, because you never know when you could use an extra static bag for small things that are needing of it. Put that there. So in here, which during the unboxing you didn't get really to see this that well, but so this is our little wire that will go back to the main board. That's a 10 pin, and that is the tiniest 10 pin I've ever seen in my life. That is crazy. And that other little printed part I mentioned is finally finished printing. So I'm going to mention the same thing that Steve Builds did. And I will go back and I'll dig out the URL where you can find this. You ideally might want to print 2 of these, even though they're saying instance 1. So this is your Voron 0 display. It's a simple version, and it has a 10-pin header on the back. Yeah. This is going to be similar to your I2C controllers that you find on most Marlin boards. Yeah, just in a much smaller connector. Got a NeoPixel, obviously for pretties, or printer status. But you'll notice this LCD is kind of free floating, you know. So there's a couple of spacers that go here and here, I believe, or it could even go here and here, that will help support this. So just gonna reach over here and thank Frank for making that item. And because it's so tiny, and currently I'm using a smooth sheet on Frank, just trying to get a good nice finish on certain aspects that are face down to it. But this is the part, and I'll show it to you again in a second when I get the bit off of it here. Nice part about brims, if you get that setting just about right, you can literally peel them off without leaving a big bunch on the end. One of the other many reasons to either have one of those, you know, plectrum style case crackers that they use for like mobile phones or various other electronics case opening, or just let a few fingernails grow. They're the best little tweezers you'll ever have. Here we go. There we go, nice and tidy. Nice little printed part. And I was right about where it potentially goes. So there's a little couple of bumps that just right in here, carefully put it right in between the display. And the fact that it's slightly springy will make it sit back down on that. Now I think there's enough room to put one there, so I've got another one conveniently made. I just need to dig it out over here. There we go. So this, again, you'll see, I don't know if I'll focus on that. There it is. See the little bumps? That's what goes face up. So let's just see. Because if it will, great. If it won't, yes it will. Just got to get it to click in right there. Oop. Yeah. Maybe not on that end. It probably needed one that had just a little bit rubbed out right there. So what I might do is just find my little torch and soften it just a little bit so that it bends around that. That will help it fit in there, but at the same time not obscure. And there we go. That little bit sticks out, just lets it fit in there. That is an extra add that is not part of the kit, so just so you're aware of that. Right, let's move this forward. Carefully, of course. And we need our printed parts for that. That's these. So there's those. And again, this is one where I went ahead and did, this is like a translucent insert, but I didn't have any clear that I trusted in that guard. I might change that out later, but I did find some remixed multicolor of these where it has some nice design. These are the original FYSETC part, but they've been only modified to add that little inlay with that you can do in a different color for a nice accent. Now this is that fan part I was talking about. I'm not sure if I feel overly confident with that, but it is what it is. It actually goes in the front or the rear, and I'll get to that momentarily. But for those that are interested, comment to me and I'll put the URL for this. But this is a printed part that you put a couple of heat inserts in there, and it latches to the extrusion, holding your fan more securely to the extrusion without tape. But I'm not going to be installing that today, just like I'm not going to be installing these today, because I need to get some nuts that'll hold them securely and put tension on them. But yeah, so with that in mind, this goes this way in your little corner there. That's a snug one. Let's see how far that's off. That is definitely tight. And That's probably just, this printed nice. I can see there might be just a little few artifacts because that is really tiny and it's ABS, so it probably did over extrude a little bit. So I'll just resolve that here quickly. Yeah, I was right. It has a little bit of a blob. Not much of one, but enough that it will prevent it from going into that receptacle. Let's put some light on the subject. Oh, that's so much better. Probably should have done that earlier, but there we go. Just a little bit of a cleanup, which I probably should have done well before now. That looks better. Let's see if that goes in nicely now. So little dimple to the corner, and I can see I missed cleaning that. There we go. Nice, right in, boom. Now that one is one you probably want to put a little bit of glue on. I'm going to let just the NeoPixels pressure against it hold it for now, because I think I am going to see if I have any clear PETG, which should be more than enough for the temperature that, you know, a NeoPixel is going to create, and I think it'll give it a much nicer look than the translucent like that. But for now, this is an easy do, and that will go like that, and I can see, yep. Is that just a little bit off, or am I just blind? No, there we go. That was it. It's just really nice and tight tolerance from the looks of it. That could mean that, you know, I did have a little material shrinkage, because the holes are lining up perfectly. So I may have had just a little bit of shrinkage in one axis. But I don't want to force this too muchly, because I don't want to break the PCB or that. Plus, I probably wouldn't have hurt to remove that protective material. I'm one of those people that I have a tendency to leave those on, though, if I'm bluntly honest. I might just break that habit for this one instance, though. So there we go. There we go. Might as well take that loose. See, the thing is, I didn't want to prep all this and figure all these things out and just whack this machine together, because these are all those little niggles that people will come across when they're trying to build it, and probably at the same times as right now. And what they don't want is to have any bad surprises. So these are things that you can now check. Here we go. Throw that over there. I think what I'll do So I'll do this side first. And then slide it in, because you'll see I put it off purposely, a little bit off. And I'll slide it in to get the tolerance. That means it should grip that very nicely and be a nice solid structure for the display. Yep. Just trying to be overly careful with it. That's it. That snapped nicely, nice and snug. What is this problem? It's because it's so tight, so I might just actually do this. And just put that over there. This is one of those plectrum things I was telling you about. Just nice and carefully, like kind of like using a shoehorn in a way. I can see it's literally like not even half a millimeter of tolerance difference. So definitely had just an ever so tiny amount of material shrinkage, I think. It was definitely not off by much. Now, this is one of those many reasons that people might go for getting the printed part included, because they do offer versions that have that. Let's try my shoehorn idea again, but this time let's use this, where it can keep the piece close, but it's a fine line. That's it. There we go. Little shoehorning. That's it. Nice and tight. Boom. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Nice and tight in there. And that'll support the entire PCB. Perfect. Now, I believe this is where we get some of our self-tapping screws again. So I can put this away now. Put that over there. And let's just shift that a little bit. So there's our 4 screws. This will sit like there. So we want this. I believe. Nope. Let's just double check this now. That is going to be like that. Yeah. So you got one there. And one there. And then that will fit up in there. So I can clearly see I need to get my little thin screwdriver. sure that can reach down. Yeah, no problem. And we need 4 of those for the self-tapping. To do that display. There we go. So first one. That's it. Don't have to overdo that one. At the end of the day, these are printed parts, and even though it's ABS, it's not indestructible. Nice and tight. Now, next one. It's nice that it slightly grabs, because that helps greatly with keeping that screw where you need it and getting it aligned over the holes. There we go. So now this one to there. Let's do that one first. As you can see, there's a little dimple there that helps lock it into the extrusion, keeping it steady. That's it. And then the final touch, our lovely knob. Do I have that the right way? Which way is it? Hold on. Okay, so let me put my tool away here. My eyes are just not working as well as I'd like, so just gonna pause this while I get my other glasses for this. Okay, after getting my other glasses, I was able to find the right orientation because it has a flat side on the rod, and I just wasn't lining it up properly. But there's our nice little display. Now, this needs to go, there's a specific end because there's a notch, and because this is going to go here, we need to ideally get it where the cable goes up. So this is the way you want it, where it comes out the top. There we go. Go. So let's do like this. that display on there. That's it. Now, there we go. That's in nice and tight. And now get that one straight. There we go. That's that side as well. Now, if you don't like the gaps, you can just compensate that just a little bit with this. Pull it up snug. Let the gap be over here near the foot. Which is fine. And there we go. Now, cable management. Yay. Don't know if I like that going across there. Let's just see how this pans out. The display port is over here at the front of the board, up near motor. So how much room do I have to play with? Let's just test that. So let's go there, under here. Under there, and see if it'll still reach. That would be really nice if it does. I really don't like the idea of putting that above a heat source, if I can help it. Nope, it is literally 5 millimeters too short. So I'm going to have to do something that I really didn't want to do. And come the other way. Really don't like that idea. But that's just me being me. And it just reinforces my thoughts of why you might want to think about, you know, some kind of active cooling here like they have on the 2.4, where a couple of fans maybe on the sides. I may actually look into that because of that reason. Yeah. Well, is what it is. Now, let me just go ahead and bring this back this way, because this is where that connection is, as you can see. And the wire wants to be this way. Not exactly ideal, but hey-ho. I think these are actually intended for wire management, if I'm bluntly honest. But doesn't necessarily need to do all of them that way. Maybe if you add things, might be useful. I'll just put one here, just to keep it out of the way. kind of neat that they added that. I think that's the only board I've personally ever seen that has a place for wire management right on the board and not necessarily mounting. Really have to give them that one. A little bit of forward thinking there. Now these are ones I'm not going to overly zip down hard. They're limited wire lengths as they are. Let's see if I can get that to rotate around just a little bit more. There we go. That's nice. Not overly tight, but not overly loose and wobbly. I don't think I'm going to force that because I don't, it's a very tight wire and it feels like if I stress it too much it would break it. Right. I think that at least covers that away. Now it's time for another connection that goes to the main board. This is our other little fan, which I'm pulling out from over here. And I believe I need to pull some of these things out while I'm at it. Yes. So just getting those to the ready as per se. Plus I think I've decided on the ptfe tube color. I'm going to go with the clear if I can get away with it. Now let's just quickly wake up the monitor and let's look at the fan. What did it tell us about that? You see, even in the Voron build guide, they had the part I was mentioning. 16mm M3 16s. These bad boys. And some M3 nuts. So we need 2 of those. And pretty soon I'm going to call it done, at least for today. Because that way I can still have time to get me some lunch, because I'll be starting work in a bit. But I wanted to get as much of this as I could get done, just to kind of make up for not being able to complete it the other day. There we go. Right. So this I believe they're going to have that there. And that's probably the best part that I can put it at, because at least it'll catch some for the CPU, couple of the drivers. And it should come up here and do that. So, but I think I am going to look at dedicated fan for this at some point, and then something that will more actively cool the drivers, because I've never been a big keen one for doing that the other way. And again, it's acting like it's just a wee bit short. Could be wrong. I see. Nope. It's because of how it is. this is supposed to have had some heat inserts. So let's do that. That only takes a few moments. Brass. Here we go. Literally only takes seconds if you get the right tools. But I'm really wondering if I should go ahead and do that other part and just add the necessary parts for it instead of killing this, making a wasted part. Mind you, I could always use it over on the side if I need to. And I need this. Definitely would like to hear what your comments are if you're watching and have gotten to this point in the video. Would you use the one that came with the kit concept there, where you VHB tape it to the inside of the frame, or would you use one that you would actually, that clips and puts pressure through a bolt and a nut and a heat insert? Which one would you choose? Do you know what? I wonder if I should go that direction with it, but you know, I could go that direction with it. Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Much better, much easier doing it that way. Much nicer. And there we go. Just want it to protrude just a tiny bit. That's it. And I'll switch that back off and let it hang over there out of the way, just so that we don't end up with a fire while it's cooling down. So with that now, this goes this way. Where does that fan go? Of course, I have put the paper in there. Actually, come to think of it, I believe I have the guide here as a PDF. Where is it? Wiring. There it is. Fan. Second port. Okay, so that goes there. And that's a 24-volt fan with a hydraulic bearing. So it looks like I don't need any of these nuts. Getting a bit of my head of myself, I think, because I want to get this done. And I'm starting to, like, many hours put in. Patience starts to wear. But I shouldn't let it bother me like that. There we go. That's better. Yep. There we go. That's one. Even a radio blower or some kind of mount that will hold a radio blower and some piping. Gives me something to think about. Nice. Okay, so what we need now, piece of VHB on the back of there. That's going to take a little trimming as well, I can see. There we go. Don't cut toward the wires. There we go. A little bit more of VHB. And now, if I play my card right, I can make this stick on two sides, just with this, which should keep it where we need it to stay. There we go. And then fold that around and stick that carefully right there. Just push down on it and back into the extrusion. That should help immensely. It's not exactly perfect, but it will get better later on. And this will likely end up becoming the fan for here. There we go. Let's just do like that. Actually, I wonder if that might go a better direction. Yes, I like that. And because it'll be separate, if you ever need to replace the fan, you only have to worry about replacing one zip tie without losing your nice wiring. Get that up just a bit more. That's it. Yeah. There we go. And doesn't need to be overly tight for that one. Just needs to keep it tidy. Right, okay. I think I'm just going to pause it again and just see where I'm at, because I may be able to start getting some of the panels. Okay, because the last little amount of time I'm running low on time, I'm going to go ahead and start getting close to wrapping this up, but at least get some things ready so that the next session we will be doing basically all the top hat and panels and be able to say done. So with that, it's time to take, I'm going to use this 2.5 or 2.5 millimeter inner diameter tubing. This is going to be for going from the tool head down to the filament runout sensor. And I'm just gonna work it a little bit to straighten it out, because it's obviously been in a packaging where it kind of took the shape. So nice and carefully, nice and slowly, let's just do that. And this goes in here like such. And without putting a great curvature on it, that should work. Now this is going to go down through here, and you want to leave yourself enough slack that you don't have to worry about it getting too tight when it gets to the forward of that. You don't want it to be an incredible angle there, basically. Now, there's some little printed parts for this as well that will help you with some of this, which are quite useful. Yeah, there's little pieces that I've printed for after build is done. And these will secure your tube for the filament to your tool head loom. And it's a little bit nicer than using zip ties, which ultimately you may have to replace later if you ever need to change anything like that. Right, put that there. So that is going to come down through there, and ideally right as easily to that without making great bends. Because if you make a lot of sharp bends, no, I'm not going behind that, no way. Then it'll be a problem. I believe, if I'm right, that is going to stop there. And then you'll have a piece out here to guide your filament in. Just going to give myself a little bit of play. So let's go ahead and start doing like this to hold it in place. Here we go. Let's see if we can work that in there nicely. There we go. That got it. That's holding now. We can slide that up to there, maybe. Another one here. That's it. That's nice. There we go. This is a semi-squishy cable, so you can squeeze it just ever so slightly to be able to get it to go in there. And I believe there's an optional from printables that I saw for this particular use where you can actually get it here. This will help give this a little bit of strain relief. There we go. And that will help it get just a little bit of strain relief on its own. That should do nicely. And then if I get right about to there, get the razor knife again, wherever I put it. There it is. Would that be about right? Yeah, just so it has a little bit of play to work with. Nice flat cut. And I'm just going to do my usual thing and just give a little bit of a taper, like a chamfer around the edge, because when you're loading filament in, if it hits that edge, it'll guide it toward the center. This is the same thing you do with tool heads. You can do it with filament runout sensors, just so that when you're loading your filament, you don't have it hang up. Right, now that there we go. That goes up in here. Into that rear foot for the runout sensor. And I've seen a number of people that bypass this aspect by putting the sensor externally or other solutions, but this is what comes with it. Let's just turn this where I can see that. And it doesn't give an exact length that I saw, so that is definitely some tight work room. This is where I probably would have thought about, why did I put the USB port there now and do this at this point? That's it. And it is only a tiny short run by comparison to most printers. Nope, that did not go in as well as I would have liked, or that it would like. I thought I cut that long enough, and I'm starting to question that. Ah, that's it. I felt it. Grab it. That's it. There. Now, this is why you do it with this all the way forward, because otherwise you definitely can potentially put it too short, because you don't know how much it wants to arc. Yeah, that's as far as it goes. Alright, let's see how that feels. Yeah. Perfect. And then when this is as it should be, then and you don't want to run these too fast because those motors generate a voltage if you push them really fast. Okay. So with that, let's check that next bit. I think you just zip tie this in place, but I want to be sure. A couple of little pieces of dust in that. I need to be careful because of the display. There we go. And I think you can actually put this around that to give it some extra cover, which is why they've most likely included it. Right. Just going to pause this again. Yep, and as I thought, it is a zip tie that locks that kind of from sliding backwards. So up through here, back down through here. And it just keeps the tube from going backwards too far. There we go. That's it. That's what we needed. Right, that being done, now doing a bit more reading, looks like I can now undo my nerves regarding this memory card. And I can go ahead and safely insert it into that SD card slot that's on the side of the main board. Go. And then that just goes right in there. And it's not a clicky one, it just slides in just like you do on other single board computers. And we'll just put that away. Put this ptfe, let's just I believe you put on the side here, you work yourself in a piece of this. Let's just double check how far that goes in by turning it upright. Okay, so I can get away with pushing that quite a bit down in there, because this is what manages your filament runout from your spool, which will be back mounted from what I recall. Or during the the early stages, the guide tells you preload certain number of nuts here if you want it on the side, preload them here. I went for just the stock default, which is in the back. Yeah, that's not going anywhere now. Okay. And then from there I can probably clip it probably about here, because I can always change this to something else should I want to. In fairness. And this end of it probably doesn't matter as much. So let's just give it, I don't know, about that much. There we go. That's perfect. That is just enough, because I've also got some other things to do here with this. Now, part of this section of the guide actually has us prepping another item, because we're getting close to the point of putting our side panels on and that. So I'm just going to show this to you now, so if you want to prep this ahead of time. If you're not going to use the spool folder, you can probably just ignore this. So if you're going to print from a dry box, but for the sake of it, we're going to get some of this ptfe tube. This is your usual very tight inner diameter. Some people like to use the brand Capricorn as an example, because it's well known for that 1.85 to 1.9 inner diameter. But they use it on this one to just give it a little bit of friction in here. And I think that's brilliant. And all you do, run the ptfe as far as up as it'll go. If you need to, twist it a little bit just to get it to go right up in there, if you can. That's it. I think that is, oh, no, okay. It didn't quite make it up in there. Hold on. Why? Oh, maybe I need to press down on it a little bit. Because they have it shaped so that it kind of locks itself in place. But I think I'm just going to give that the benefit of possible, again, shrinkage. And just shave a little bit right there, because I can see the channel actually goes all the way to the front of the part, so there's probably just a little bit of overhang which is not playing or hasn't played nice. And besides, when you get your little Voron done, you can always reprint this part with it. That's it. Okay, now with that in mind, let's just be sure. So I might actually give it a little bit of a hand in this regard and give it the proverbial little bit of a bevel. Give it something to, like a spike to drive it in, because you want it to grip it. You don't want this shifting around, ideally. And I've seen a few spool holders over the years that use this concept, because you get just a little bit of friction, but you also get a reduction of certain amounts of friction, which you don't want, which would ultimately give you a problem. Because you have almost no friction. If it does like a quick movement, it's liable to make your spool spin, and that's when you end up with a piece of filament wound on the spool that unspools, and that can lead to it binding. So from here, they tell you just do like so. Cut it nice and flush. Yeah, and they say another one on the bottom. So two pieces, one top, one bottom. I shall do. I think that's because of it being, you can mount this on either side. And to be fair, if you get T-nuts later on, you can switch this as you see fit, you know, the drop-in ones. Wow, too much pressure. That's it. Nice and flush. Nice little. Would have been nice if I had some black ptfe, would have matched the colors, but hey-ho, it is what it is, as they say. And of course, this will be going here, I believe. Yeah. Like that, I believe is how it goes. I could be wrong. Yeah, I think it is this way. We do it like that. But yeah, that's how they do. That's interesting though, because you would think it would have been a bit wider, but you know. I'll look at the guide when I get to the mounting of that, because they were just saying about prepping it. Anyway, now I think I'm going to just quickly, while we're at it, just give a quick check on power supply, but I need to go get my meter to do this. And check the voltage coming out of the power supply. I'm going to pause it for that and then come back to it. Okay, just going to give you a little teaser. Power supply checked out. I'm not going to leave it on though, because I still need to do some things, but obviously that makes me incredibly happy. This means I can also probably do this next step. We're going to finally do one step I've been wanting to do for a bit. But I'm going to need to do like this for it. And to get at least one on today. So, we're finally going to put the bottom on. I know that some people might think that's jinxing it, that you have to take it back off, you know, but once I see that much of it, then I have a confidence, because it's either going to work as it's supposed to or it's not. Yeah? And I can pretty much say with a confidence, wiring is correct. So this will be the last part I'm doing today, is to finally put this on. There we go. Let's just nice and carefully try to get that off of there. There we go. That's it. That's one. After this, it's time for me to start getting ready for work. For those of you that don't know, basically I do technical support over the phone. And you think, what? You know, this guy isn't doing 3D printing for a living? No. I enjoy working with my clients. And I'm pretty sure they enjoy me helping them from time to time. So, okay, so last bit is that you take the feet back off, which is almost detrimental, but you know, is what it is again. I also saw some items that allowed you to replace these. They're printable TPU feet. I'm actually thinking about doing those. Here we go. That's it. And pick your side, doesn't matter, they're both the same. Boy, that looks smooth. That definitely looks smooth. Finally having the feet going on. Oop. Let's get that. I know why that is. That explains that other bit. There we go. Come on. That's one. And that's obviously grabbing into those heat inserts on the feet. Your four corners. There we go, that's that one. I'm going to push it up against there. Here we go. And there we go. We have feet. I've been waiting for that. So there's our stopping point for today. So thank you again for watching diligently, if you have been, that is. And on the next session, we will finally get this little guy's full topper and side panels and power him back up and see what he can do and do some configurations in that. Thank you again for watching.